totals for week 4. Total expenses were $2,901 at $1.26 per mile. Total revenue was $4,100 at $1.79 per mile. That brought our net settlement to $1,198 at 52 cents per mile. Welcome back to Trucking the Seven Seas. This is episode number 84, and in this episode, we're going to go over week 4 of running my own authority. We have a fairly short week this week because I take a couple of days off in Austin to attend a conference I was interested in, but other than that, it's very smooth sailing. If you're interested in this channel, welcome. I started this channel in order to show exactly what truck drivers make. We started as a company driver, working for night transportation, moved on to a lease operator, working for night transportation, then an owner-operator, working for Landstar, and now we are an owner-operator, running my own authority. I show all the loads I take, what the revenue is, what the expenses are, and I compile all this information that I put into a spreadsheet that I share with you at the end of every video. So if this is a topic that interests you, follow the channel. But last episode we left off in Memphis, Tennessee. So we dropped a load in Memphis, Tennessee. Then we were looking for another one. So I'm looking to run a north to south, south to north route. So basically just between the south / Texas up to the Midwest and all up there, and then just back and forth up and down like that. So that's what we were looking for. So we dropped the load in Memphis, and then we ended up finding this load right over here. So this one's going from Shannon, Mississippi to Menominee, Wisconsin, which I think that's how you guys are saying I'm supposed to say that. So we're going back to Menominee, Wisconsin. Paid decently, so not bad. That's a pretty decent market up there, so you can get out for a decent rate. So found this one, $2.15 a mile before Deadhead, so that's not bad. After Deadhead, it was like $1.90 or something like that. So I thought that was pretty good. So went ahead and grabbed that load, and now we're headed to Menominee, Wisconsin. Let's go. All right, so we dropped that load in Wisconsin, and then we were looking for another one. So trying to head to Texas. So there was a conference in Texas called the Pronatalism Conference. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you're interested in it. But I wanted to attend the conference, so I was trying to get to Austin. So I was looking for a load anywhere to Texas, but Austin specifically, but Fort Worth or maybe San Antonio or Houston would also be fine, and I can get over from there. So I was looking for a load, and then I ended up finding this load right over here. So this one is going from Wasau, Wisconsin. I know I'm not saying that one right. So Wasau, Wisconsin to Mesquite, Texas, which is Dallas. So that's right where we wanted to go. Paid decently, $2,100. What's to say? That's not bad. I did need to get down there, so I had to take a load to Texas, and this one paid decently enough. $1.88 a mile. It's not a fist pump, but it's okay. Basically, I needed to get to Texas, so this is the one I booked, and now we're headed to Mesquite, Texas. Let's go. Okay, so after that Texas load, we went ahead and headed down to Austin for the Natalism conference. So that's what we're doing now, and that's why I'm in a hotel right now. If any of you guys are wondering, don't forget about the Amtraks when you are trying to get around. So if you're a truck driver and you're in wherever, like Fort Worth or something like that, don't forget about the Amtraks because they're actually pretty nice. So I went ahead and just took an Amtrak train straight down to Austin. So they run from Fort Worth to Austin. So I actually just dropped my truck off at a Freightliner, and I'm getting the valves adjusted. So I just dropped it off at a Freightliner, and then just got an Uber over to the Amtrak, and then took the Amtrak down to Austin. So that works out really well. Just a tip there: if you're out there and you're trucking along and you're trying to get somewhere, don't forget about the Amtraks because they're actually pretty nice. They're not like a New York subway or something like that. They're nice. They're calm and everything. They're decent. So just a tip there. So that's what I did. I dropped the truck in Fort Worth, which is just a little ways away from Mesquite, and then dropped it at a Freightliner. They're gonna do a valve adjustment. That'll be on next week's paycheck though, and then took the train down to Austin, and that's where I am right now. So that's what we're doing. But because of that, the Mesquite load is gonna be the last load on this paycheck. So we're gonna get into the spreadsheet right now. All right, guys, so as discussed, this is going to be week 4 of running my own authority. So let's get into it. For week 4, we did 2 loads. In those 2 loads, we got 2,295 miles, paid a total of $4,100 at $1.79 per mile. Fuel expenses, fueled up 3 times. In those 3 times, we spent $746 for 33 cents per mile. There were no maintenance expenses this week. Other expenses, scales 1850 for 1 cent per mile, and that is it. Move on to fixed costs. We did have our insurance payment come in, so our insurance is $2,137 per month. That equates to 93 cents per mile at $2,137. So there you go. All right, totals for week 4. Total expenses were $2,901 at $1.26 per mile. Total revenue was $4,100 at $1.79 per mile. That brought our net settlement to $1,198 at 52 cents per mile. Okay, so notes for this week. There's not many. It's a pretty short week. Again, I took a couple of days off because I'm in Austin right now, just playing around. So doing that right now. Just took the 2 loads. Still not bad. If I were to keep running loads like this, north to south, like I've been doing from Texas or the south to the Midwest and then back, I think that's a pretty good run. Those are 1,000-mile loads. They pay decently, one good area to another. If I can do 2 or 3 of these per week, 2.5 to 3 of them per week, then I think we're doing okay. And that's like $5,000, $6,000 of revenue every week, and not bad. So that's actually kind of my plan, is just to keep doing this exactly as I've been doing it, and just keep running it like that. And I think I got a pretty good plan there. So that's what I'm doing this week. Though obviously it's missing about a load in there, so about 800 miles, however you want to look at it, and about 1,500 to 2K of revenue. So there's that. But other than that, not too bad considering I'm taking a couple of days off this week. So there's that. All right, and then the fuel expenses were fine. Fueled up 3 times, $746. This is correct this time. I didn't screw it up. 33 cents per mile. This fuel bill, some of you guys have been commenting that has been fairly low, and you're correct. I'm actually doing really well on my fuel. I'm using the O2R Solutions fuel card, so I'm using them for factoring and fueling. If you use their card for fueling, you get a discount on their factoring. So that's what I've been doing, and I think the discounts are just really good, and that's why I'm pretty much doing this. I'm also trying not to fuel up in Illinois or Wisconsin, and I'm trying to get all the way to Arkansas or the South somewhere to fuel up, maybe Missouri. So I'm doing that, so my IFTA bill is probably going to be kind of drop the hammer shortly, actually. In a few days, I got to file it. So that's what's going on there, but yeah, no, this is accurate. 33 cents per mile, and I'm going to go over my fuel mileage, what I think I'm getting here in a bit. But yeah, my fuel bill is actually pretty low, and that's good. Yeah, and then moving on to maintenance and other expenses. No maintenance this week. I did get a valve adjustment done, so it's done as of right now in Fort Worth, where my truck is. So I just dropped it off at the Freightliner. They did a valve adjustment. One of you guys suggested it, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually a good idea. So that's what I did. Dropped it off there. They did the valve adjustment. I think it's like $600. Not too bad at all. So that's coming down the pipe, but so far none this week. So there's that. And then other than that, like nothing there, right? I just had to scale one time, and that's it. So I got people outside. Hold on. All right, I probably had to do some editing because there were a bunch of people talking outside my door. So there's that. But yeah, scales 1850. So I didn't factor any of my loads. I'm trying to get off the factoring. So I talked about it last week. After the initial startup cost of 18,000, I was short on cash. Like, not ashamed, right? That was a lot. So I decided to start factoring my loads with OTR Solutions. They're fine. Nothing they did, but I want to get off the factoring if I can. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'll probably factor. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. I might still factor if I'm starting to kind of get a little low there. But this week I didn't factor any of these loads, and going forward I may not factor any of them at all. So there's that. But right as of this moment, I did not factor these 2 loads. So I haven't been paid for them. I should mention that. It's going to take like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, however long it takes to get paid to actually get in my bank account. So just to know, I haven't technically gotten paid, but I'm not gonna wait like 2 weeks to tell you guys this is when I got paid. I might write it down or something and let you guys know. But as of this moment, I didn't technically get paid for this. I did complete the load. It's fine. I'm going to get paid. I'm not worried about it. But I didn't factor it, so technically I didn't get paid. So just a note there. Using OTR Solutions, I'm going to probably factor a load at some point if I need to. They're in the back pocket, but I'm going to try to get off factoring on a regular basis going forward. So yeah, no factoring this week, and then that's about it. As a reminder, my truck is paid off, so I don't have a truck payment. That's it. 18 bucks on the other expense. So that's a pretty good other expense bill right there. So there's that. Okay. All right. Yeah, and then moving on to the fixed costs. As discussed last week, insurance payment did come in, so that's the big one for the month. That's the biggest fixed cost I deal with is my insurance payment. It's 2 grand. I am using Progressive, and it's 2 grand. So truck isn't particularly high value. I said the value was like 40 grand or something like that. So that's not the problem here. The problem is this is a brand new MC, and insurance costs are very, very high. Now, if you got your insurance like a couple of years ago, it was probably cheaper. Insurance rates have spiked in the last couple of years, just like it's an inflation thing, I guess. So yeah, there's nothing on my record that would give me a higher insurance rate. I don't have any tickets. I don't. My CSA score is like super low, so it's totally fine. I'm 32 years old, so I'm not like super young, not super old either. But yeah, this insurance rate, that's pretty much what you're going to pay if you're brand new. Now, you might be able to get a little cheaper somewhere else. That's true. I went with Progressive because I didn't want to have any issues dealing with brokers. If you pick certain insurance companies, sometimes they can't deal with certain brokers. As an example, the OOIDA does not work with Landstar because OOIDA is currently suing Landstar. So Landstar is like, yeah, you're not hauling for us. So there's stuff like that can happen, and I wanted to avoid all that. So that's a big part of the reason why I went with Progressive, because they don't have that issue. So there's that. But yeah, there's my insurance payment, 2 grand a month. And I think if you're trying to come into it, you're going to pay probably at least this, to be honest with you. So just be advised of that. 2 grand a month, that's mine. That's 93 cents per mile. Comes in, once a month. So roughly $500 a week on average would be the payout if you wanted to break it down. But right now it hits on this week, so 2 grand. There you go. All right, and then moving on to overall, so short week, so short paycheck. Revenue was low because I took a couple of days off, and my expenses were high because of the insurance payment. That kind of hurt everything. Still made $1,100, $1,200 basically, 52 cents per mile. So not too bad actually. I mean, just I took a couple of days off, so that's not too bad at all. And it is what it is. So there's that week. After this Austin trip, gonna get back on the road Monday. So this does cost me 2 days this week and kind of 2 days next week because I gotta get there a day early and then leave a day afterwards. So taking a load on Monday, probably head back up to Ohio or something like that if I can get one, and then that's that. So get back on the road next week. But there's week 4, 52 cents per mile, $1,100. There you go. Okay, then just moving on down to the overalls here. So probably a broken record for those of you who are listening and watching this video or these videos regularly. These are my overalls. They're kind of irrelevant right now because of my initial startup costs. So again, I'll just scroll all the way to the top here. So we're all the way to the top. These were all my initial startup costs. You can watch a video on that. It's I made a video on it, so I'm not going to go over that again. But my initial startup costs were 18 grand. So we're still deep in the red right now, but that's right. That's what's going on there. So if you scroll back down all the way to the bottom, you will see my totals right here. But because the startup costs are so high, I'm still deep in the red, 8 grand. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just for theoretical purposes, delete the startup costs and scroll back down just to give you guys a better glimpse of what a typical month would look like without the startup costs, although the startup costs definitely count. So this is basically how the month went. 4 weeks, we're going to call it a month. Month went without the startup costs. So basically cost per mile was 85 cents per mile, and that does include the insurance payment, which is the big one. So that's good. My cost per mile is 85 cents theoretically without the startup costs, so that's interesting. Booked loads for $1.80 per mile. $1.80 per mile does include deadhead, so that's currently what I'm booking loads for with the deadhead included. If you don't include the deadhead, it probably goes up to close to $2 per mile. So there's that. And then my total profit loss theoretically would be $9,600 at 95 cents per mile. And again, all these loads are dry van. And yeah, so there's that. Just a theoretical glimpse as to what I would make if I did not have those startup costs. But the startup costs most certainly count. I'm just showing you what they would be without them. So there's that, 95 cents per mile. I was making 90 cents per mile at Landstar, so we're going to see which one is better here. But so far, actually, it looks like Landstar might be a little bit better, to be honest. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see where I'm at the end of the year. And it's also worth noting that this is March I just ran, which is not a good month, right? January, February, and March are the slow months of the year. Maybe during the summer I start getting a little more, but as of right now, when you compare this to Landstar, Landstar would definitely be better. This needs to start improving, and hopefully by the end of the year it does start improving. But as of right now, looks like Landstar is better, but we'll see how it goes. This is still not a lot of data, so we'll see how it goes. But there you go. Okay, yeah, so I put the startup cost back in there, and that's what we're down to. Still negative 8 grand in the hole, so there's that. Gonna scroll down here, go into averages and other information. A lot of this is still very irrelevant because the startup costs are just skewing everything. So this is my average weekly paycheck is negative $2,000, but there's a lot of irrelevant information here. But I did want to go over my fuel because I thought that was kind of interesting. So fueled up total of 1,195 gallons, and I'm paying an average of $3.23 per gallon, which means I'm getting 8.5 miles per gallon, which is pretty decent. I think that's pretty good. My fuel cost per mile is 38 cents per mile, so my fuel cost is 38 cents per mile. Thought that was interesting, worth going over. This is accurate, that this doesn't have anything to do with the actual pay. It's just showing what I'm basically fueling up for. And yeah, so some of you guys were asking about kind of my fuel consumption and everything like that, and there it is right there. This is accurate. A lot of this stuff isn't accurate, like up here and then down here. A lot of it is just kind of totally irrelevant, but I did think it was kind of worth going over my fuel costs right here because it's right there and it's easy to track. So fueling up, cost per mile is 38 cents, and I'm getting 8.5 miles per gallon, and the price I'm paying after discounts is $3.23 per gallon. So that's interesting. And what 8.5 miles per gallon, that's also interesting because my dashboard is saying less than that. It's saying about 8.1. So that's kind of fascinating that it's less. So I don't know. I have to do a better check on it. Now, there's some idling in Vegas that I was doing when I was getting my authority active, so that could be skewing it in some manner. But I find it very interesting that there is a pretty big disparity between what I'm seeing right here and what I'm seeing on my dashboard. So I think this is actually probably the more accurate one. I mean, my mileage is pretty damn close. So I don't think there's any issues with that. And yeah, so that's kind of interesting. According to this, I'm getting 8.5 miles per gallon, and according to my dashboard, I'm getting like 8.1. It's kind of interesting, and I actually tend to believe this a little bit more. So that's where we're at there. But that's about it, guys. That'll pretty much do it for this episode. Pretty down and dirty, just trying to pump it out right now. And yeah, if you're interested in this spreadsheet or any of the other spreadsheets I've done in the past, you can find them in the About section down below. You just hit File, Download after you open them, and then after you download them to a Microsoft Excel sheet, you can use them however you please. And if you're interested in using OTR Solutions as a factoring company, there's a link in the description down below. Feel free to use them, and it would help me out a lot. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.